And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Building Together, a special space brought to you by the American Red Cross Regional Delegation. Today, we're going to have a special talk about social media. For our dear panelists who are going to help us out, we have today Cristal Madrid. She graduated with a degree in journalism with an emphasis in audiovisual media production, studying the last semester of the Masters in Communication and Master in Corporate Communication with a specialization in journalism, functions, and media. She is the American Red Cross liaison officer for the regional delegation, and previously she worked with the communications department at the IFRC regional here in Panama. And we also have Rodolfo Montero. He is studying right now business administration with a focus on technology. But in his free time, he loves to learn about human behavior and how it affects our current world. Right now, he's very interested in the psychology behind the social networking. So we got a specialist right here. Well, I don't know where you have it in your screen, but I have her right here by my left side. And down here, I have Rodolfo, who is someone very interested. Further along the line, we're going to have another panelist that she will be joining a little bit late. Her name is Esther De Inocentis, and she's a Venezuelan girl graduated from the Florida State University in Digital Communications and Media Studies and Psychology. But I'll present her to you later during the show. My name is Jorge Brito, and I will be your loving producer for this amazing show. I would like to remind you that you can join, if you have joined through the Zoom link, you can join our conversation if you have any questions by raising your hand, and we will pass on the microphone for you, because we would love to see and hear what you have to share about this important topic. Furthermore, if you are looking at us live from YouTube, first of all, don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. And as well, don't forget that you can text right here, sometimes it's right here, uh, everything about any questions or comments you have in the live chat. We will read them and check them. And as soon as we can and have the chance for, we will answer your questions and check your comments. If you are listening through us through our online radio, first of all, thank you very much. And second of all, you can check in on social media in Delegación CRA on Instagram, Delegation CRA on Instagram. You can send us a message there if you have any comments or any questions, and we will answer those questions as well during the show. Well, first of all, how are you, Cristal, Rodolfo? How's it going on this
Hi.
magnificent Friday?
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. It's actually a pretty good Friday. Yeah, it's kind of like rain, but it's a good day.
Great to hear.
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, Jorge, for asking. It's a cloudy Friday over here. Obviously, no plans for going out or anything like that. Being safe, staying at home. But yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation and to learn and hopefully contribute a little bit more to our understanding.
Well, thank you both very much for for being here actually. And well, I do would like to start the conversation with a very important question that personally I have at this point. So social media is a big thing. We look at it all the time. We use it all the time. I mean, probably most of you received this link through a social media app or you saw it somewhere around Instagram. So my question is, what's the real function of social media and why does it attract so many young people?
Okay, if you wanted to answer. Uh, okay, social media, it's like the trending way, the trending media of communication that we have, especially in young people, but now even elders are starting like using it. And it used to be like something just for young, yeah, young people, but now it's like everyone is using it. And it's kind of like a fever, but it's really interesting because you can like have access to any kind of information like really quick. If something happened, you just get through like Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, or any social media, and you will have the information right there. It's so easy to get, it's so fast, and you can also like compare the information with different pages, with different accounts, and you don't have to like look or wait to the next day for the newspaper. You don't have to open a bunch of like websites from news letters of newspapers to read what is going on. You can check like each web page or each account for different social media newsletters if you're interested about a news, and you can have the all information there really quick, really fast. And I think that that's something like really interesting and really trending nowadays, because we live now in a world when we were like, we want everything right now. We're so like impatient, and young people is always like, no, I want it now. I want it now, now, now. And social media, it's something that actually gave us that kind of things to us. So that's why I think it's more like a trending thing between young people.
Yeah, I agree with Crystal. I think it's basically a big network of people and devices that are constantly giving each other feedback in the form of likes, in the form of comments, in the form of I simply looked at a post and I liked it, and that's recorded somewhere in some database in some server. But I agree with Crystal in the sense that it's sort of a method of obtaining information faster than we have ever obtained information. For example, as you know, one of the examples that you brought up was the fact that you don't need a newspaper anymore, and that's true. And I relate to that because I follow, the La Nacion, which is a newspaper here in Costa Rica, and they post all the more like the most important stories on their story, right? And in addition to that, all the COVID updates, everything, it's no longer done through an article. It's done through an Instagram post, or it's done through a Facebook post. So it's really interesting to see how information, although it's not all correct, we still have a form of obtaining way more knowledge than we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I think it's a very interesting trend, and I think it's going to evolve in the next couple of years into something that we don't even plan for it to evolve into. So I'm excited I'm excited for it to do so in a positive way, which is not the trend right now.
What do you mean it's not the trend right now about a positive way of evolving the social media?
Well, as Crystal was saying as well, right? We live in a world where we want everything right now. We live in a world where anything that lasts more than a minute is already in our brains going to kind of start activating that boredom cycle. Any video that lasts longer than a minute, we're already like, okay, come on, can't you bring it down to less than 30 seconds or something like that. And in addition to that, in addition to information being compressed and being sort of reduced to the more basic parts of what it is, it opens it up to a lot of interpretation. And interpretation can be really good because you understand what is trying to be communicated to you. However, understanding perspectives amongst people are all going to be different. So there's no way for me to make sure that whatever I post on my Instagram is going to be taken how I intended it to be taken as, because there's simply no way to gauge how people receive it, especially when we have such little information compressed. So we've seen it with things such as the political debates in the United States. We've seen it with misinformation around COVID being passed around, through WhatsApp. We all know our aunts and grandmas are sending us links that might, download viruses onto our phones or computers. And I've been, I'm at fault there as well. I've passed on information that I thought was truthful, and then I found out, the best case scenario is, somebody contradicts you in the moment, but sometimes this information can become big rumors that are just, the same way that this network connects so many people, this information can be passed quicker than ever, and it can be, it's almost like the game, what's it called, the telefono chocho, where you basically you pass on a phrase or a sentence to your friend, and then that friend has to pass that same sentence to another friend, and then towards the end it's a completely different sentence altogether. So it's really interesting to see how this information is filtered by people, how in addition to how that functions with social media's main sort of algorithm, like how it functions with this algorithm, in the sense that when we like something, Instagram gives us more of that. And when we don't like something, they know, okay, we need to keep this away from him, so he stays on social media as long as possible. So I think that the trend right now is that there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of sort of segregation amongst people who have different ideas and who don't want to open their minds to finding a middle ground. And but I'm positive that it's going to take a positive turn in the next couple of years, and people are going to realize that it's not a sustainable way of obtaining information, and you can't really live your life following false news, fake news, right? So yeah, that's what I meant, like mostly by taking a negative trend currently.
It's a very interesting point of view you're giving. And for everyone joining us recently, I just would like to remind you that if you joined in the link that got you to this webinar, you can raise your hand if you have any question or opinion you would like to give out, and we will pass you on the mic. If you're looking at us right now on YouTube, leave your comments, your questions in the live chat right here. And if you're listening to us through a radio, remember you can always text us, or as some people like to say it, DM us on our Instagram page, which is Delegation CRA, Delegation CRA. We'll be waiting for those comments. Well, about any negative trend that you were mentioning, do you have any comments on the negative trend opinion that Rodolfo just gave, Cristal?
Yes, actually, I was going to mention that is one of the benefits. Yeah, and the complicated thing about social media, because usually we used to like confirm information when we read a book or we heard about someone, or when we read on the paper, on the newspaper, we thought, yeah, this is true. But now in social media, it's kind of complicated because we actually can't like know for a fact, like in the moment, if it's true. We have to look for some research, make some search about the page or the account that is passing in, and how like true is this. And because we don't, I mean like all of us, we don't want to convert ourselves in person or people who give fake information. And as Rodolfo mentioned, we can have this risk. We can have an information. For example, if we're talking about COVID-19, we can say like, yeah, no, it's nothing, and you won't feel anything. It's okay. But actually, we know, and we have been paying this the whole pandemic, and we know that we have, for example, wear the mask. We have to keep distance and all those things. So it's a benefit that we have in social media, that we can reach people that we didn't thought that we can reach, or that our message or our post, our story, or anything we want to say or want to express will get to more people that we thought before. And that's a great and huge benefit from social media. And also because almost everyone is consuming social media. But a risk is that we have to like make sure that what we're sharing, it's true, or it's at least like veridic, because we don't know. I mean, maybe for us it's not a big deal, or maybe we just share a post, we didn't even read, we just share it, and just a post means nothing. But we don't know how the person who is going to receive it or is going to read it is going to take it. So that's a risk that we like space with social media. So yeah, I'm actually totally agree with Rodolfo because yeah, there has its benefits, but also the risk.
Very interesting point. But the where I see it, you're talking about social media as a matter of globalization. Now that we have more interaction, and now that we have more internet at the palm of literally at the palm of our hand,
Yeah.
we have more access to more information. How is that access to more information affecting our social media? Because I can be anyone in this point and have all the information in my hand. I could look for any proof, I could look for the real truth, people would say. Yet what I'm sharing on my social networking is not exactly the truth of it, but I don't want to check the internet for the real answer. So I stick to what I believe. How can one in social media deal with such situation? Because I'm pretty sure you are aware the typical comment fight between people about ideas or 100 topics, even video games. If their actual truth, as you mentioned, due to globalization, is in the internet, why is people in social media not using that resource?
Okay, I see 2 points here. The first one is me as the one who is posting, and the other one is me as the reader or as the person who is seeing this post. In the first case, if I'm the one who is sharing the information, I have to like try, at least try, to give like the real information. And I have to inform myself so I can be prepared, so I can like post or I can publish something. If I don't do that, I'm not just like making some mistake or a mistake with my account or with my social network, my social media. I'm kind of also doing committing an issue with other people's account because people who follows me will see that, and if people don't know as I could not know, they will think that it's true, and it's going to be like a snowball. It's going to be from person to person to person to person. So I think that a way that I could myself could deal with that, it's presenting maybe proof or information or studies or inform myself before posting something. In the other case, when I'm the person who is reading or is looking at the social media from someone else, I think that maybe we can like in a private way because I don't think that we should like fight in social media. I don't think that's actually necessary. This is my point of view, just to be clear. In my point of view, I don't think it's necessary fight or discuss with someone in social media just to prove your point. That's my point of view. What I will do, me. What I will do will be like texting the person, will text him or text her, and I will say, you shouldn't maybe share this because this is not true. And I attach or I send an study or something that actually like respond what I'm saying. Just to like trying to stop this novel of fake news. That's one thing. And the other thing that what I think why people like to fight with other person or other people in social media is because they want to like uh, stay firm in their decision in their opinions, and they don't want to anyone change it because this is how I think, this is what I feel, and this is what I want to express, and no one can tell me because this is my account, this is my social media, and if you don't like what I said, then don't follow me. But it's not as simple as that. It's not like that. I mean, it's not just like, yeah, it's my account, it's my social media, and you shouldn't care what I post. Yeah, because it's affecting other people. Even if we say it and we think that it's our network, our social media, it's personal, it's private, it doesn't matter. Other people is seeing. So that's kind of what I think. I see it from two point of view. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it gave me a good insight. I don't know what Rodolfo would like to say. Before we continue, Rodolfo, I would like to present again uh, Esther Di Innocenti, as I mentioned before. She is a Venezuelan girl graduated from Florida State University in digital communications and media studies and psychology. And in 2020, she started a master's in business with an emphasis on marketing. She loves photography and social media as well, and she will give us a very interesting point of view on the social media. She was a little delayed because she had a business meeting beforehand. But welcome, Steph. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
Well, so Rolo, if you would like to continue uh, on where Crystal left off.
Yeah, I think Krista touched on a very important point there towards the end, which was that social media shouldn't be as easy as if I don't like something, I don't want to see it, because that's not what reality is, right? We know that whenever we go on the street, we're going to see things that we don't like. We're going to see people that we don't like. We're going to see actions that we don't like. And by sort of limiting what you see on social media, in the sense that anything that makes you uncomfortable, anything that you disagree with, by limiting and filtering those things out of what you see on a daily basis, you're creating this sort of illusion as to what life is, right? You're creating this illusion of all things in life are beautiful. All the people in my life are beautiful. They're all in vacation all the time. They all have beautiful pets. But the problem is, once we start doing that, we don't see the sort of the background. We don't see the buffer time in between those pictures. We don't see the difficult times that people are going through. We don't see the other point of view from this political figure that we love and adore, and we want to support fully. Yes, it's important to support people that believe what we believe, that have the same values and morality that we have. However, the same way that you and I are human, so are they. They make mistakes. They post false information all the time. Whether it's on purpose or not, that's a different topic. But I think the way that people should change their approach towards social media is, it shouldn't be a place where it's all sunshine and flowers. It should be a place that reflects reality. It should be a place that reflects your life, and it should be and that's your responsibility as an individual to whatever you post on your social media to reflect who you are, while at the same time staying true to what you believe and seeing the things that sort of enlighten you from both sides of the same coin, right? This is, I mean, the most common example right now is politics. We see people posting all the time about statistics, all the time about facts, about other political figures that might be true, but again, we're missing context. So my recommendation is, yes, obviously don't fill your social media with people who are going to bring negative energy into your life, but understand that it's necessary to have all points of view around a subject matter, so that you can be as most informed and that you can make the most informed decisions when it comes to the very big, important decisions. And in addition to that, I think that, as I touched on a little bit earlier, I think that you are responsible for doing that as well. I think that if you're going to post about a controversial topic, I think first of all, you should do your own research and make sure that whatever you're posting is factual. And secondly, that you leave room for people to, or I guess you open your mind for people to contradict what you're saying and to correct you, and to be able to accept that and to publicize that, that mistake that you've made, because that's real life. People make mistakes. People post things that aren't true all the time. The important thing is that we can, retract it and then post the actual information. I think that's our responsibility as a user. Obviously, have fun on social media, follow your friends, join lives about random things, about their favorite artists or whatever. But also stay tuned into what's going on around you, so that you're not ignorant and you're not misinformed about the important subjects that affect you, me, and that seemingly might not affect you, but in the long term it might. So it's important that you stay informed. It's important that you inform people the correct way. And it's important to understand that you are not the most intelligent person on social media, and that you're going to be incorrect generally the majority of the time. So yeah, I think that's my point of view on that matter.
I think it's very interesting how you mentioned during your comment, which, by the way, I think was great, as well as yours, Cristal, uh, how people show themselves one way in social media. So, are you making some kind of reference to that people in social media sometimes are not shown how they would usually act out of social media? Or I don't know if you guys would like to explain a little bit more on that part.
I mean, what I was referring to is, obviously you need to have some sort of discretion on social media. You're not going to post every detail of your life. um, I think that whatever you do post should be synchronous to what you believe and to your values, and as well as to have an adaptive mind, in the sense of, um, there's things that you can post and that are appropriate for certain social media applications or platforms. And that's up to you. That's your discretion. And I think you're only really going to find that through making mistakes, through people correcting you, through realizing that maybe that's not what reflects you as an individual, whatever you post, whatever you comment. And I think just that should be complemented by the fact that whatever that you have to realize that whoever you're talking to and whoever you are responding to and whatever you are portraying is being consumed by people. It's not screens. It's not a computer who is in taking all this information and then sort of living their life. No, it's a person. It's a person. You have to realize who follows you. You have to realize who you follow and who's going to see your content and what content you're seeing. And that's what I mean by you should make sure that whatever you post is congruent to what you believe and to your morality. I think that's the most important part. Anything more specific than that, I think it's a case by case basis, and I don't think it's like there's not a general answer to everything. I think you should just reflect who you are on social media, even if that's a part of who you are, not the full you. Make sure that it still has that essence that makes you you.
Interesting. Esther, what's your opinion on the case? You are.
Yeah. I think that most people tend to like show a different self in social media. So people should be aware of that, because people mostly post about their achievements or the good things that are happening in their lives, but people do not post about if they are sad or things like that. They don't do that. So we need to be conscious of that. Moreover, we need to know what to expect from social media. Like, most people think that everything should be good and they should follow that, but you have to post what you think it's right for you. Like, each person is independent and each person is allowed to post whatever they want. So we don't have to criticize them for posting about what they want and what they like. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Well, Cristal, would you like to add anything?
Maybe, if you let me. Yeah, I was going to mention that, yeah, I'm totally agree with what Rodolfo and Esther said. And I also believe that, yeah, we sometimes so not saying like the majority of the time, we use social media for like show or present an image that we want to people see about us. It's not all the time like us, like the real us. Normally we try to post our achievements or our majority things, our the things that are good for us, our travels or vacations, as Rodolfo says, with the cute dog and all that. And to show that we have a good life or a like a like a great environment, a great family, and everything. And it's not bad. It's actually no bad. But yeah, social media. What I'm trying to say that we don't have to like trust completely in what we see in social media, because if you follow someone's account, you are seeing what that person wants you to see, what that person wants to show. That doesn't mean that it's actually that person, or is that is actually what this person thinks or feels or anything. And yeah, I agree with Rolf that everything that we post on our social media or social networks should be our principles, our values, and what we think, what we feel, what we like. Because it's ours. That's supposed to represent us. But yeah, my comment was more like, yeah, we normally see a lot of cute and beautiful things in social media, but that doesn't mean that it's just beautiful things in everyone's life. I mean, we have to know that sometimes could be true and sometimes could not. And nowadays, the days we're living now, everyone can like take a picture or put some clouds on the picture or put themselves in another country or something like that. And we actually believe those things. And it's not necessarily true. So yeah, that's like more like my comment that yeah, sometimes we see social media and we show what we want to show to other people see, but that doesn't mean that it's actually the reality.
Well, now that you've mentioned, all of you, how there's, let's call it, two sides of a person in social media, the question that appears would be, are social networks bad or dangerous?
I think that social media or social networks are not bad. What is bad is the way that we use them. That's what I think. Because I mean, you can have, for example, a pen, and if you use it to write some things, it's not bad. You're using for what's made for. But if you, for example, get mad at me and you throw me a pen, that doesn't. I mean, the pen is not bad. It's the person who is throwing me the pen. You, Jorge. You know what I'm saying? And it's
I know
bad.
people like that. Yes, I do know people
Yeah,
like
I do know,
that.
and I'm kind of seeing one right now.
I do know people like that.
So I don't think social media, social networks are bad. I think it's about the way that we use them.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
No.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's whatever you make it. It's a tool. It's a different type of tool. However, there's a problem. There's a problem, and this is something that comes up in the social dilemma, the documentary, which I think, by the way, if you haven't seen it, you have to go see it. It's I think it leans a little bit too much on sort of fear, but it's doesn't matter. Whatever they're saying, it's a matter of our reality, and we have to tackle it as a society. However, this tool is very different to other tools because it reacts to you. It's sort of its own being. It has its own brain, and so I think to a certain extent, of course, however you use it is very important because it's gonna sort of reflect whatever you see, as well as what the people that follow you see, because you're going to be posting this and sharing content and such. I think the problem with social media is that the sort of basic function behind
Oh,
it,
what
the
happened? I
oh,
think she
clear.
had. Well,
I
I
think it was
think
a
her internet must have
Yeah.
issues. Well, that is a shame. We will check if she managed to reconnect again. But well, meanwhile, please continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, and just to summarize, I think it, of course, it has to do with how we use it, but we have to be careful because it's also using us in a certain way. It's not a platform that is one-sided, right? It takes our information, it takes your information, and does things to it. It manipulates it so that we can, be happier and have short-term happiness more often. But at the same time, um, it does have the risk of showing you things and to sort of show you a trend of things that might not be good for your health. It might not be good for your mental and physical, right? We've seen comparisons with supermodels who we see them in our feed, and then all we understand is that, okay, this is what people should look like, instead of saying, no, these are people who are really good at what they're doing, and they're the same way that a supermodel is a professional at what they're doing, is the same way an athlete is a professional at what they're doing, right? We can't compare ourselves to people who do things for a living.
So you're mentioning social media has an effect on the mental health of the person.
It can, yes, it can have an effect, and I think it has an effect on most of us. I think there's very few people who are aware enough to sort of look at it from a third point of view, look at it from the outside, and critically think of what it's really doing to you mentally. And I think even fewer people have the sort of initiative to take a break from it, to see how you react outside of social media, not interacting with it constantly. I know that I've done it, and it's difficult, but it's wonderful because it kind of gives you perspective into who you are using social media, who you are outside of social media. And I think that's something that more people should practice, to realize what's happening to their mental health. And it can be anything from anxiety to a severe addiction to any platform. So we just need to be careful with how we're using it. And I think we're lucky because we got to see social media kind of grow up as we grew up. But there are people who are being born into social media and who think that this is the normal, and think that this is how normal people interact. This is how relationships start, how relationships are maintained, and how relationships end. And the reality that social media is only a shell of what a relationship is. It's only a part of what it is. And so I think we need to be more
Very
careful
interesting.
with anybody who's younger than us, because they might not have enough experience to be able to look at it objectively and to react to it in a positive way.
I think you have a very good point there, and I think what I'm about to say applies for anyone. Doesn't matter the age. If
Yeah.
you're very young, if you are around 10 years old to 15 years old, and you're looking at this or listening to it, well, first of all, congratulations, because you are informing yourself, and that is amazing. 16-year-old all the way to probably 20 as well. Actually, anyone that is looking at this right now, congratulations for wanting to inform you and wanting to participate in this. But the advice I would like to give you right now is, do not end a relationship through a text. Don't do that. Please.
Yeah. Well, great advice.
It's
Great advice.
don't do it. It's hurtful. Don't do that. Do it face to face, please. At least a video call.
A Zoom call now.
Zoom call, yes, because now, speaking of relationships, now during this COVID time, the new normal, dates have been changed into, instead of going to a picnic, let's go watch a Netflix through the Netflix party, or Zoom dates, and all that stuff. I still do not understand it.
Could
But
you imagine? Could you
it's
imagine
like,
if you got an email inviting you to a Zoom meeting where the title just says breakup? Like, could you? I'm sure that's happened to somebody. That's insane. Like, you schedule a meeting. You're like, today at
Did
3
that
p.m. we're
happen to
gonna break
you?
up.
You're like
No,
pretty sure,
thankfully
you know?
not. Thankfully
well,
not.
that reminds me of, like,
You're
that
like
scene
pretty
from The
sure.
Grinch. The scene from The Grinch is like, all right, well, at 2, I can eliminate. At 3, I'm gonna schedule my breakup. Yes,
Yeah,
that sounds
yeah,
great.
yeah,
At 4, I am gonna cry.
yeah.
Perfect. Well, it could be. I don't. If someone watching this, that happened, please let us
Please
know.
tell us. Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
And I
I'm
would
sorry
like to
that
know
that-
your experience with that. And
yeah,
I
I'm
am
sorry that it happened. Yeah.
But I have to. I mean, I understand your point perfectly. How social media can affect someone's mental health. And before I give my point, Cristela, I would like to know your point on social media and mental health.
Yeah, I was going to talk. Well, I'm going to talk on the part of a female part. I want to sound feminine, but
Interesting.
I want to sound
She's gonna
feminine, but I
spill the tea,
actually
guys.
have some point of view or some comments about social media and mental health related to females. For example, in my case, I'm going to talk about really personally. I don't want to talk like other people's life. In my case, for example, it's really complicated. Something that Rodolfo mentioned that when you see someone and, for example, in good shape or with an amazing body, in my case, I'm a woman, and we are. I mean, I think that almost every woman is like kind of obsessive with the body and want to have like amazing body and smoking body and all that. And then we saw supermodel in social media, and it's like, oh my god, how is she doing that? I saw her eating a burger. How does she have? I mean, that isn't even real. Are you serious? I saw her eating a whole pizza by herself. How is that? I mean, how she's so skinny. How she's so beautiful, and I'm here like trying to eat some salad and some lettuce and some. I'm sometimes not even eating, just drinking water and still like this. Why? I mean, why do you have to do? But that's the thing that we don't know from behind, from background, as Rodolfo mentioned, that we don't know if she actually had a really strict diet. She exercised 6 or 7 hours per day, or that's, I mean, if that's her job, she obviously has to do that. But normally, I mean, girls who, I mean, don't work as a supermodel, sadly, we have other things to do. You know, we have to work, we have to study, we have to do other stuff. So we don't live based on that. And it's sad when you're a girl, you're trying like your best and you're working and you're studying, and then you see this beautiful mother that is eating a whole pizza by herself with this smoking body. You're like, seriously? And actually, that makes me feel bad. When I see that, I always say like, you know what? I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start. I don't care. I'm going to start working out because I feel like left out somehow. And another thing that I started like that is like a new thing in social media, or at least for the page that I follow. Uh, this topic about female, it's two pictures. There's one girl with a pose, and her body looks really beautiful. And then it's the same girl with a different pose, and her body looks totally different. And the caption is the like it's just body, you know. I mean, it's yeah, it's the same body, it's just changing the pose. You shouldn't be ashamed of your shape. You shouldn't be ashamed of how you feel with yourself, because we all are beautiful, because we all unique, and those things are the things that make us different and make us beautiful somehow as women. So my feminist part, I'm sorry that came out, I couldn't avoid it. Uh, is the yeah psychological yeah I feel and I think that affects because had affected me before. And if I'm really honest, and sometimes still when I get into Instagram and I saw an amazing girl, I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to start diet and I'm going to start working out because I want to have a body like that. And then I'm like, you know what? I love myself. I feel like like me. I feel obviously working out to do a lot of things. It's healthy to have a good health, not just physically, also mentally. But not doing it just because I saw a girl or I saw someone who makes me feel like left out of, like I don't have like, I don't know, like that. If I'm going to do it, it's because of me, not because of someone else. And it's kind of hard at the beginning because when you see this thing, it's like, why? I mean, how is people traveling? How is everyone doing all these kind of things? And I'm just here like, why? And that's the thing that I think, and how social media could affect mental health.
It's a very interesting point of view, actually, and you are very right. Social media affects a lot what is our self-esteem as well as what is our gratification process through it. And as Rodolfo mentioned before, it generates just a momentaneum period of gratification that we get. Why? Because our generation and the people using social media, mostly the main reason why we have it is for gratification, and it's because of the likes. If the world was run by any currency, universal currency, it would probably be likes and comments, because that's what we live for. We post something because we want the likes, and we make sure we post something that the rest of the people are going to like because we want as many likes as possible or comments. And it's because we feel good. So, considering the level of satisfaction that social network can generate, it is very necessary to open the debate regarding their effect on mental health. Being a space for interaction, it contributes to the construction of an identity of a social approval, because
Yeah.
that's what we're looking for, is a social approval, which is why the use of them can generate an impact on our mental health. And there's a lot of studies, like according to several studies, the most common ways in which our mind is affected are substitutions of real life by a digital life, meaning we, as it was mentioned before, present ourselves in real life one way. However, social media me is completely different, because probably I could look as a very introvert person who doesn't go out a lot. However, my social media, or what we could call our calling card or presentation card, which is my Instagram profile, my Facebook profile, my LinkedIn, whatever you want to use. We can include even Tinder if you want. It shows that I am someone that likes to go partying and likes to go here and there, that dresses according to the trend. But in real life, I'm not like that. So it creates that substitution, and that kind of substitution between a real life and a virtual life. There's studies that shown that in other countries that are way more developed, such as Japan, for example, there's a lot of people that tend to have a substitution to a virtual life, or they like to have a virtual life that way. It has shown, and it shows in the way in which the the birth rate in Japan has decreased a lot, meaning that there has a higher aging population than a newborn population or a work class population. That is, if you would like, just like we talked, you can look it up and right now. And there's this useless comparison about other people's lives, just like Christelle mentioned. We are affecting our own self-esteem by comparing our life to the other people that we have and that we follow, and some of us may admire them, including, and we aim to be them. However, we need to take in account that not everyone is the same, and the processes that I am going through in my life are not the same as the person that I'm looking through this phone, and maybe the person I'm looking through this phone is not actually the person I think it is. So it's very important to take a look at that.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
A very important one that almost slips away is bullying. Bullying is something we've seen always, since we're kids, since before social media. Sadly, is one of the things, one of the negative things that have evolved with us.
Mhm.
So as we evolved into social media, so did bullying, so did fake profiles, so did catfishing, so did the virtual text, calling someone ugly, faking a friendship, etc., etc. Those are the areas where our self-esteem is affected, and that's how conditions such as depression, high levels of anxiety, even what is eating disorders appear. There's a movie on Netflix that I do recommend that talks about eating disorders, and they have a very strong point towards social media and how eating disorders affect you. It's called Into the Bone. I recommend it high. It's great. It's amazing. I love the movie. It's a very interesting movie as well.
Write it in the comments.
I will read it already. Into the Bone. I'm gonna put it everywhere around that. Uh, but social media tends to do that, and sometimes it's because it's what we are trying to share. It's interpreted in a different way that we wanted to. Either a drawing that I make, or a poem that I write, or a picture that I take it for a different reason, and I use that caption for a different reason. I remember, actually, this is a personal one. I remember when I took a picture smiling under a sunset, and I was quoting a really nice song that I love. It's called De Ellos Aprendí. It's in Spanish, but it's like a song that literally takes every single word from all my childhood movies, and they put it together, and it's a great song. And there's one that says, uh, take out of your life if it takes out your smile. Of course, in Spanish, it sounds different. And if you miss a comma, you can misinterpret what the message is saying. Which, if you take out the comma, will be like, take out your life if you don't have a smile. And that, is like, So I received a few texts saying, like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I missed the comma. That is absolutely not the idea of the post. See, it's a matter of interpretation, because maybe I can also interpret it, put on a poem, and the poem is very strongly. It can have a lot of raw feelings, and since it's a poem, it depends what the people interpret it. But it's not the message I want to pass. So just like Rodolfo said, you can send out a message, but the receiver is going to receive a different message, which is something very important that we need to take a look at in social media, especially on text or comments. I think emojis were created so you can actually put a tone into what you're writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't use it. You'll see how people are gonna get mad. And emojis stop working. That's why WhatsApp now has the stickers. So you put tone into it,
Yeah.
because sometimes people interpret the message depending on how they're feeling or what they think is going on. Because my dad could literally text and say Jorge, and I read it, and he could put all caps, and I'm like, oh, what did I do this time? I swear to God, it wasn't me. But if he uses, I would go and it's like, did I do something? I was like, no, I was just calling you. I'm like, but you used all caps. It's like, oh, my bad. Sorry. That it happens like that. So uh, here I have that was my point on it. I know if you guys would like to add something before we finish this beautiful, amazing conversation we just had, which, by the way, we had around 100 people connected, all the way from the United States, Canada, Costa Rica, Peru, Brazil, Mexico, through our different platforms. We're talking about here in the webinar, YouTube, and our online radio. For all of you, thank you very much. And remember, this recording in YouTube is going to be, it's going to be recorded, so you can share the video later with your friends and family, as well as you can share it with them through our Spotify. You can find it in the amcross.org webpage, and that show is going to be recorded there as well. So any final thoughts you would like to share with us?
I think we have a comment or a question in the chat box.
I oh, you are very right. My bad. Thank you, Daniel Arango, for the comment, for the question, and thank you, Cristal, for noticing. Uh, Daniel mentions, what's your opinion on opposing age restriction to social media? Is it needed, or should children be free to use social media? Well, this is a very interesting topic. What I can say personally would be, for there's an age for everything. There is a certain age where we start looking further into life. So social media for children, it's not bad as long as there's a parental restriction for a lot of things, such as video games as well. There's gaming consoles such as the Nintendo Switch that gives you a parental restriction so you can set the boundaries for your kid. Because at the end of the day, as a parent, is as well the decision that you want to take, because no one can tell you how to raise your children. So it's how you would like to see it. I think a parental restriction, depending on the age, it's appropriate. That is my personal opinion. I don't know what you guys would think.
Um, yeah, I think I don't know. I think in like anything in life that is restricted, I think kids are gonna want to do it more. We see the same thing with alcohol. We see the same thing with video games. I know that I wanted to play Call of Duty when I was 13, when I definitely should not have been playing Call of Duty when I was 13. I think what is more important is how we raise our kids to endure bullying, to endure criticism, to endure comparisons to people who might look better than us, who are smarter than us. I think that's more important. I think it's more it's a more critical point to show our kids how to be tough in social media, how to make smart decisions in social media. I think it's important for our kids to understand how social media works, first of all, and to make sure that whatever they're posting, and even then, that's a little bit more difficult, right? Just make sure that if you are going to restrict your kid, make sure that it's a restriction that is going to make them make a more sort of critical have a more critical point of view towards social media, and to make sure that they understand that it's not something that happens in real life, and that's not how real life works. um, and to not shield them, because I think that's a problem as well. I don't think your kids should be in a bubble where they don't know what's going on. I think they should have an idea that there's a good and a bad, wrong and a right, but also that there's many times this point in the middle that is neither wrong nor right. It's just a compromise of the two. And I think to me that it's the restriction, of course, I think obviously, like a 5-year-old should not be using social media, in my opinion. Um, but if you're in high school, if you're in middle school, there's really no other alternative, because it's become so ingrained in our lives. And I know that even for schoolwork, for university work, I use it to communicate with my groups, right? Like I know that there's alternatives, but what everybody has, it's what everybody's comfortable with, and I can't impose something different on somebody else. So I have to adapt when it comes to coming up with this compromise. But it's how I use this social media, how I view it, how I interact with it, that is more important. So I think there should be a restriction. I just don't think it should be as high, I guess, as the question sort of um, leads one to believe. I think it should be for, I think, children, toddlers, of course. No, absolutely not. They're not ready for it. They're not even ready for life. How are they going to be ready for social media? We're not ready for social media.
We're never ready for life.
Exactly. So how are you going to be? How do you expect them to deal with growing up, plus the constant criticism and comparisons that people get from being on social media? I think it should be. I think it's more on how you teach your kids to be critical about what they view and what they read and what they consume.
What I think, if we talk about parental control or parental restriction, I think that we have to also consider the parents, because yeah, maybe for us, if a kid see, I don't know, some news, about something that is happening in war, something like that, I don't think that a kid should see that. But if the parents are actually watching this and they maybe don't care or don't pay attention to what is the kid seeing, what's watching, or even if he's watching the same video that they're seeing, it's complicated because I think it's something about education for dads or for parents, so they can actually put like a good parental control or parental restriction to their children. I also consider that kids shouldn't have social media because I think that's kind of like something new that is like updating every day and has a lot of tools and a lot of buttons every day. So if we are grown ups don't know how to use sometimes social media like entirely, how our kids are going to use it. And yeah, kids are really, really smart and they discover and know a lot of things that maybe we don't even know that could work. But that also could be like a risk that they have this access to everything because we don't know how it's going to affect them and we don't know if they actually have a parent or adult person supervise them. So I don't think that kids should have social media, social networks, and if they have one because their parents allow them, to be like a really, really good like supervision from the parents' side. And yeah, also if you're in high school, it's kind of like difficult not having it.
Mhm.
And now there's kids who have phones, and yeah, when you're in high school, normally you have phones, and we have like different kind of environment or family or parents. Yeah, some parents don't allow their kids to go out at night after 7 p.m. and other parents, yeah, they allow. So I think it's something that we have to like also put in the face or the face of these different types of parenthood and parenting and how this is going to affect the kid, how is this going to affect um, the environment of the child. And if a teenager, yeah, I think they should have social media. I have social media, but it's still, I think there still be like some supervision because, as you mentioned, we are not ready for social media. We're not even ready for life. So it's something that is changing every day. It's something that is updating every day. It has so much things that we actually, I don't think that we can consider ourselves like an expert on something because everything is growing, everything is changing, everything's developing. So it's kind of complicated. Like consider yourself like, yeah, maybe you can be an expert today, but tomorrow you actually don't know because tomorrow there's going to be a new social media, a bunch of websites or anything, and I don't think that maybe you consider like an expert. And I do consider there should be like some age for things because we have age for having a license, we have age to go to college, we have some age to go to preschool, to high school. And so yeah, I actually think, in my opinion, they should be like regulated maybe by age and of course by their parents.
Thank you very much. And I think with that will be our closing statement. Well, thank you so much, Rodolfo and Cristal. And well, if Esther is looking at this, thank you for the time period. I'm sorry about the internet situation. Thank you so much for the time that you gave us. I think I've learned a lot personally, and I think everyone listening or watching this learned a lot. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you all for the time that also you gave us for listening. And don't forget, share this because information that we share is information that can save someone. And well, a lot of information is never wrong. So thank you so much again to our panelists. Thank you so much for everyone listening and watching at home. And of course, thank you so much for our support team. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy it a lot, and I'll see you next time here in Building Together, a space brought to you thanks to the American Red Cross Regional Delegation.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.